The teller. The teller. The teller.
It's another day. Left jab, right jab. This is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim? Looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting. If you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go. I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller.
What's up, boys? What up, everybody? Show just picking up. Let the room fill up. We got a great episode lined up for you guys tonight. Sure, a lot of you guys are aware Hannah Goldy is going to be joining us, so it should be pretty cool. I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of her. If you guys can just give me 1 second, just finishing setting up some things here. Should be a good one. If you guys aren't familiar with Hannah Goldy, she made a name for herself on Dana White's Contender Series, where she pulled off a very impressive victory. Looked very good on the feet, a lot of heavy body strikes, and since then has made her UFC debut as well. So it's gonna be a good one. Seems like a very interesting chick too. I'm very curious to chop it up with her. The game changer, man. I appreciate you, brother. Hit that like. Yes, listen to Turn It Up MMA. If you're new, hit that like button, hit the bell notification, subscribe. And I appreciate you guys. If you can give me 1 second, man. I'm sorry about the delay. The headphones are giving me a little bit of a problem here. But you guys can start asking some questions, man. We got a lot of fights that are taking place this weekend. We got Bellator. For those of you guys that already saw it, put the Bellator prediction video out for you guys. Hit the four main card fights. Didn't really go through the entire thing. And actually, Bellator was slacking. They really weren't even announcing a lot of the card. I guess they're still finalizing it, or it's a very, very small card. Not a lot of fights have been announced so far. So I just hit up the 4 fights in the main card, and quite honestly, the only 4 fights that I'm really interested in. If they televise the other ones or whatnot, I'll definitely check them out. But the 4 fights that I talked about, those are the real fights that I'm interested in. And that being, of course, the main event: Sergio Pettis versus Ricky Bandejas, Jordan Mean versus Jason Jackson. Pumped for that fight. Interested into the Taiwan Claxton fight versus JJ Wilson. This guy Wilson might be a hot prospect, and Claxton obviously is a very, very hot prospect already. He's already proved himself. Very strong wrestling background. And then Aaron Pico. You guys know the deal with Aaron Pico. He's very young still. Already has 3 losses in his first 8 professional fights, but the kid has all the skills to be a real star in the game. So we'll see if he can, keep the trains on the track, and we'll see how that all goes. But we're going to be dissecting that card and the UFC card here. And if you guys can bear with me, just give me 1 second. I apologize for the delay. Just messing with my headphones here. But if you guys get any questions in the meantime, if you guys have questions for Hannah Goldy, you can comment them now, man. If they're good ones, I'm going to ask her. If they're not that good, then I probably won't. But make them spicy. Let's get some good questions here. And if they're good, I'll ask her. Vincent, Hannah Goldy's coming. Hannah Goldy will be joining us in roughly, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes or whatnot. Let's see. Should be good now, guys. Sorry about that. Let's see. All right, we're set, man. Sorry for the delay, guys. Yes, Hannah Goldy will be joining us here shortly, maybe around 8:20 to 8:30. And, I want to talk about this Bellator card because that's going to be the first card coming up Friday night. And I'm interested what your guys' thoughts are on the main event. Sergio Pettis taking on Ricky Bandejas. Ricky Bandejas is a guy you do not want to sleep on. We saw what happened when people slept on him in the James Gallagher fight. Hit him with the karate kick to the dome. What's up, Macizo? And you know what? To be honest, I don't think that Pettis wants to sleep on him either. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls off the upset. Line's relatively close, so wouldn't be a major upset. People are starting to respect Ricky. You know, if you look at the 2 losses that he had in Bellator, those were 2 tough losses against very, very formidable opponents. Sergio Pettis, though, you know, he's a guy. He made a big splash in his Bellator debut, but quite honestly, you know, his opponent wasn't really the highest caliber of a fighter. I think Ricky Bandejas is a lot more of a formidable opponent. So, you know, yeah, he has the range, as Macizo brings up. He has the range, man. He's a very rangy fighter. And dude's legit. I think that this is a big fight for him. If he gets this victory, it'll be really big for his career. Sergio Pettis, a household name. He has the Pettis last name, so you know that goes a long way. And again, after the debut that he had in Bellator, that, you know, his stock is rolling high right now because he went into that fight and just showed that the UFC fighters. Well, I don't necessarily if I 100% agree with that, but you know, he kind of put out a precedent that the UFC fighters are on another level. But really, what it was the, you know, Bellator lined them up with a gimme fight, and it was a smart move for them to do. You don't really see the UFC do that all the time. You will see the UFC sign some of these top guys from like Bellator and ONE FC, whatever. When they get their hands on them, they definitely do throw them in there with, you know, some of the best UFC opponents to kind of make a point. One second. Sorry about that, guys. But, you know, you see the UFC do that here and there. But Bellator does it in a different way. You know, they'll throw them in there with an opponent that's like, you know, really not on the level. You know, and Bellator has their hands on more guys. You know, they have more guys signed under contract that are really not on the level. So, but, you know, I do edge Pettis to win the fight. Pettis is very technical. I've seen the kid grow up in front of my eyes. If you guys remember, man, you know, I've been a fight fan for a long time. Sergio Pettis was putting in work from way back in the day, back when Anthony Pettis was in WEC and, you know, making his way into the UFC when the UFC signed over all the WEC guys. Sergio Pettis was already having professional kickboxing bouts and all types of stuff, fighting with grown men. And the kid is skilled, man. Do not sleep on Sergio Pettis. The only knock I had with Sergio is that while over in the UFC, for whatever reason, the guy, he never finished one fight. He never had that killer instinct, and I was never a big fan of that. You know, he was always in there. He's playing it very safe. And, you know, he goes over to Bellator. He went in for the kill because it seemed like it was the type of situation where Sergio, it kind of reminds me of some of my fish, man. I got a big fish tank full of African cichlids. And, you know, some of these fish, the big bully fish, they only like to attack the little weak fish. And then there's a couple other little tough fish that I have in the tank. And when they see each other, they kind of just give each other a look and they swim by each other. For whatever reason, the you know, the big bully fish, they only pick on the little fish. And that's when they go in, they chase them around. I feel like Sergio Pettis knew that he was on another level in that fight. And then he all of a sudden wanted to turn up the volume, step on the gas, and he went in for the kill. I would like to see him going for the kill like that more often, but you know, we're going to see now. This Friday night, Ricky Bandejas is a very, very skilled opponent. So Sergio better. I guarantee we see Sergio on the back foot again, you know, point fighting and just trying to win a decision. That's what I think, honestly. But he's very good at that as well. So let's not sleep on that. He's very good at point fighting too. So how many fights do I got locked in for fight night? Right now, I only have one fight locked in, man. I have one fight locked in. And I'm definitely going to have at least 2. I'll be honest. I think that this card's a little stingy. I feel very good about the one play that I put in. And I'm eyeing one or 2 other ones, but I'm not sure if I'm going to pull the trigger on 2. At least one of them I will. I had one fight that I was very, very close to pulling the trigger on. The more I kept watching the fight tape, though, I saw major red flags. And I had to hit the eject button on that play. And I'll let you guys know what play that was on the fight companion as the fight transpires. And I'm interested to see how that fight plays out because I think a lot of people are taking this fighter. And I think there's a major red flag. You know, a lot of people are thinking he or she should win, but I think there's some red flags there that it kind of steered me away. So kind of an interesting fight. Teller, please tell me you heard Brian Kelleher new freestyle. I didn't hear the new freestyle, man. I didn't. How is it, Vincent? Is it a good freestyle? Oh, man. He's killing it, huh? He got the nose ringing and everything. Kelleher. Shout out to Kelleher, bro. We'll get him on the show one of these days. Speaking of Anthony, what do you think of Pettis facing Anderson Silva? I think that would be a very good fight. I think that's a good fight to make. I know Anderson Silva is a lot bigger of a fighter, but Anderson Silva is also a lot older. So you take the two different handicaps. You know, Silva's aging. Pettis is going to have the youth on his side, but then in the meantime, Silva will have the size advantage, the reach advantage, and all that. And I think it plays out to be an entertaining fight because, you know, Anderson Silva versus Anthony Pettis, two of the best strikers that have ever stepped into the octagon. Why not make that fight? I think that'd be an excellent fight to make. As far as the weight, I guess it's going to happen at 185 pounds. So Anthony Pettis is going to weigh in at 185. I don't even know how I guess he could pull that off. You know, because I wonder how much weight Anthony Pettis is even cutting to reach the welterweight division. I know he wasn't cutting much weight there, so it's kind of interesting way to look at it. I wonder if they would actually fight at 185. Anthony Pettis would have to be eating pizzas and stuff. If Pettis mix it up, good changing levels and all, his cage IQ should get him the win. In reference to Sergio, yeah. Who's Hannah Goldy? Hannah Goldy, man, is a UFC strawweight fighter. She actually made her UFC debut in the flyweight division, but typically fights in the strawweight division. She fought on Dana White's Contender Series. I was talking about that a little bit earlier, and you're going to be getting to know her here good in a minute. So she's going to be joining the show here in a minute. Man, she's a girl that you're going to want to know about, man. This girl, she has a lot of potential. She has a lot of potential to be a big name in the UFC. So Grundy at 250. Grundy's a solid fighter, man. Very, very underrated wrestling. And, you know, Evolov is a guy that's really been winning his fights by pushing the pressure, pushing the pace, and getting takedowns and whatnot, too. So it's kind of interesting because he's probably not going to be able to get those takedowns. The striking better show up. Otherwise, you know, could be a tough night for him. The boy TKO Tap said it was dope. So he's a Kelleher supporter, TKO or Tap. There you go, brother. Jam out to Kelleher freestyles. All right, I see you. I tagged you on Twitter, fam. Check it out. I don't really mess with Twitter, just to let you guys know too, man. I'm more of an Instagram guy. You know, I try to kind of balance the both. I tried it a couple times, but I'm not a fan of Twitter that much. I like Instagram. I feel like Instagram has a better setup, but in no means do I, you know, am I set on that? I know a lot of people like Twitter as well, so no shade at any of you guys that like Twitter. Hannah Goldy is a sort. Yeah, that's a good question too. Where do you see Grundy at plus 250? Because that's what I was thinking too. I haven't seen the line hit any odds like that. As far as I'm concerned, I see Grundy on average around plus 160, 170. Because when you said that, I got a little excited. I'm like, all right, I might have to jump on that because obviously that line's way off. But yeah, that's if you want to elaborate on that, let us know, man. Where you got Masio? Where do you see plus 250? Let us know where you see 250. We'd love to know about it. All right, but we'll touch upon the UFC Fight Night card, man. Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. Did you guys see the actually, I want to talk about something else before we even get into that. What about Mike Tyson taking on the one and only Roy Jones Jr.? What do you guys think about that? You know, people have been flirting about Mike Tyson making a comeback for a long time. A lot of people have been talking about it, and it's going to happen. Who do you guys leaning for in that fight? Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. Roy Jones has kept more active, obviously, you know, throughout the years. Tyson's going to have the weight. Tyson's looked crazy explosive. He's looked very good as of recently. And I think it's a perfect matchup. The only thing that I was disappointed to hear, I don't know if you guys know this or not, supposedly they're going to be wearing headgear. The state of California is going to be making them wear headgear, which is ridiculous, right? How the hell two guys that were at one point in time were two pound-for-pound best fighters in the world? That's a fact. Mike Tyson was a pound-for-pound best fighter in the world during one of his eras, in the beginning of his era, and Roy Jones was a pound-for-pound best fighter for some time too. So how the hell does that all work out? Now you're forcing these guys now to wear headgear. Kind of strange to me. if you ask me. I guess because they've been out of the game for so long that they felt like they had to do that, but they're in their 50s. Is that why? But you know what? I'll be tuning in. Tell me you guys are going to be tuning in for that fight. Who's not going to be tuning in for the Roy Jones versus Mike Tyson fight? Come on. Especially nowadays, you know. I mean, there are a lot of other sports that are going to be picking up by then, but still, you know, we're always going to be looking for, something good to entertain us. So shout out to Jonathan Cardone. I appreciate you, brother. The super sticker there, man. I highly appreciated. I'm here for it. That boy Jonathan. That's what's up. Do a fight companion for the Tyson versus Jones fight. What do you think? So, I'm excited for it. That's how I feel about that. I'm excited for that fight. But now on to this weekend. We will be having the fight companion going down. I believe it's starting at 10 p.m. And it's going to be picking off with an epic fight, man. First fight of the main card, Paul Craig versus Antigulov, the Dagestani fighter who has really never been in a boring fight inside the octagon since he's made his debut. And I could say the same thing for Paul Craig as well. So that has all the makings to just pop the night off, man. To really, really pop the night off. And I'm excited for that fight in particular. I think that has all the makings to be fight of the night. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but Paul Craig, man. I'm a fan of Paul Craig's. I'm not saying that he's the most talented fighter, but Paul Craig always brings it. I love how they call his name. He steps out in the octagon. He stares across the cage at his opponent, and he's going to bring it. And he's going to pull off all types of crazy submissions. Because he needs to work on his striking. Striking definitely needs to improve, but my boy Jonathan Cardone, I appreciate you, man. What's Rodriguez inside the distance prop at? I haven't seen that. Actually. Some of the books I check, a lot of those prop bets come out a little bit later. I would assume you would get that at, in my opinion, to get it right around plus 120, maybe like plus 140. Actually, no, I would even, maybe that's, yeah, I don't know. Because she's a minus 175 to win the fight. So, she's obviously the favorite, in everyone's eyes to win the fight. And really, I think for the most part, people see her winning that fight by decision. So, in my opinion, maybe the prop bet on the finish is like plus 140, plus 150. Maybe even worse. Maybe like plus 190. I'm trying to think. Because here's the thing. Her striking is actually, her striking is legit. Marina Rodriguez is legit. And Esparza gets tagged up and she freezes up sometimes. But actually, it's probably a little worse than that, actually. I'm trying to think, because, it still is a women's fight. The prop on the finish is maybe like what, in the plus 200s, maybe creeping up on plus 300 the more I think about it. But I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, more than plus 350, maybe plus 300. But, don't be surprised, that she's a girl that could throw down, man. Marina Rodriguez has very skilled striking. She puts it on her fighters. Undefeated, but, she has the problems with the takedowns, man. That's the problem. Last time that she had a finish was her Dana White's Contender Series fight, which was a while back. She hasn't had a finish in a long time. So, yeah, it probably is more around 350, maybe even creeping up on 400 the more I look into her resume. You know what? And I'll tell you guys a little insider tip, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know too, but, looking into that Marina Rodriguez Esparza fight, there's a lot of cheat sheets. There's a lot of footage that's out there. We already seen Marina Rodriguez take on Cynthia Calvillo, and we saw her take on Randa Marcos. So those are two fighters that have, in my opinion, above average wrestling for the division. So we saw how she performs when fighters are diving in, going for takedowns on her and whatnot. We've seen her get taken down, but we also know what she could do on the feet. She could really work you. She could throw knees up the middle. The hands are nice. She'll step in. She'll hit you with some nice combinations. So plus 740 for the TKO. Is it really plus 740? It seems a little off to me, but I guess that is actually, yeah. I'm going to post a link, man, if anybody wants to hop in. Hannah Goldy will be joining us very shortly. I would say roughly 10 minutes. If anybody wants to hop in for a minute, we could talk for a little bit before Hannah gets here. Again, if any of you guys have questions for Hannah Goldy, let me know. I got a bunch of questions lined up for her here myself. Yeah, Turn It Up MMA says TKO plus 740 on the Rodriguez finish. So maybe something you guys want to look into, man. You know what? Let's check it out right here. Here we go. We got some props. Yeah, I got it actually at plus 490. That's what I'm seeing, but that's based off of sports bet and 5 dimes. I see plus 490 on the Marina Rodriguez finish. So if you're getting plus 740, man, those are some crazy odds. You might want to jump on that plus 740. Bulldozer fight will go the distance plus 110. Not a bad prop bet at all. Not a bad prop bet. I could see that fight. People right now, the line might be a little bit skewed because, the Bulldozer, Tanner Bozer, is coming off a nasty knockout where he looked really good with the hands. But for the most part, he goes to decisions through his career. He's a very tough guy. Good luck finishing him. They call him the Bulldozer for a reason. I don't know if it's so much about his output, more than the damage that he could take. That guy's a bulldozer. Just you hit him and he just eats everything. We saw him in the Cyril Gain fight. So good luck stopping him. Good luck for Pessoa to stop him. I don't see that happening. And then I think the only way we see a stoppage is if the bulldozer bulldozes him, and maybe puts it on him. But, that's not a bad prop bet right there. But again, it's heavyweight fighting. Anything can happen. So sometimes those props will get you, man. You never know. Bozer is the guy. I like Bozer too, man, a lot. Minus 145, no distance in the main event. 5-round fight. 2 guys that have knockout power. 2 guys that have been finished recently, right? Robert Whittaker coming off getting knocked out by Israel Adesanya. Darren Till finished in 2 of the last 3 fights. And although the first finish was against Woodley where he got Darce choked, that was a fight where he really got hurt bad on the feet, got dropped, got ground and pounded. So, something to look into. What up, Jay? Making any Bellator plays? Stay tuned, bro. I'm going to let you know. The Bellator card, a lot of heavy favorites, a lot of really heavy favorites. And, honestly, we only got what? We got 4 fights to choose from as far as betting goes. And, the lines are very high in them, so not a lot of opportunities. I've been looking into something. I would like to have something on the card, but I'm eyeing something. I'm going to let you know, Jay. Till has knocked out 1 guy, Cerrone. Yeah, it's true, right? That is true. And Cerrone is a guy that gets finished by a lot of people, right? So yeah, I wouldn't say that Till really has that knockout power. I mean, the last knockout before that was against Wendell Oliveira. That was way back in the day. That was his UFC debut back in 2015. Wendell Oliveira, didn't survive in the promotion. So that's true too, man. I think that Robert Whittaker really has more potential to finish this fight. Robert Whittaker is the guy that throws bombs, those step-in hooks. I love the way he has this unorthodox style. He steps in, whips the left hook, and then as you try to roll out, he'll whip up a head kick at the same time, knock you out in a lot of different ways. So, no, Goldie didn't come on the show. Goldie's going to be here very shortly, about 5 minutes or so. So, Hannah Goldy will be joining us here very, very shortly. So, if you guys got any questions for Hannah Goldy, let me know. And other than that, throughout the card, I'll tell you guys some of my sleeper fights in the card, man. Potential fights of the night. Of course, you got Paul Craig. I talked about that versus Antigulov. That fight has all the makings to be fight of the night. Mauricio Shogun Ruja versus Nogueira, fighting for the 3rd time. You already know what kind of fight that's going to be. The Fabricio Verdum versus Alexander Gustafsson fight. That's a good fight. Although Gustafsson, he tends to be on his back foot a lot. He avoids a lot of exchanges for the most part until he chooses when he wants to go in and attack. So maybe that fight's not as entertaining, but I don't know. I kind of like that fight too. How about Khamzat stepping right back in there? You kind of know what that fight's going to be. Hopefully that guy McKee can step up and make that a decent fight. I would like to see that be a good fight. Francisco Trinaldo versus Jai Herbert. That's a good fight. There's a lot of these fights I think are good matchups. I think you guys are going to be surprised with this fight card. That's how I feel about this card. I think that a lot of these fights are actually going to play out very entertaining. The Boser Pessoa, that's a good fight. The Movsar Evlov versus Mike Grundy. A lot of these fights, man, these are entertaining fights here. Nicholas Dalby versus Jesse Ronson. Alex Cowboy Oliveira versus Peter Sabata. It's just solid fights, man. Great point right here, man. Gus and Verdum is a circus. That's a good way to describe it, man. It really is a good way to describe it because there's so many X factors. There's so many X factors in that fight. Gustafsson is a guy that's already contemplated retirement, or technically he already retired, right? He dropped the gloves in the middle of the octagon. He retired from the fight game. Now he's coming up to heavyweight. Doesn't want to make the weight cut anymore. His opponent got suspended from the fight game for taking performance enhancing drugs. Comes back in. He's old as hell now in these days. One of the best fighters to ever do it in the division, but he's old now. Looked chubby in his last fight, and made a guy in the boa constrictor, Alexei Oleinik, look like made him look like a bulldozer. The way he was just charging him, dropping bows on him. That fight really is a very unpredictable fight, in my opinion. I still do think that Gustafsson takes that fight, though. At the end of the day, I think that Gustafsson is going to be very patient. He's going to use the footwork. If you watch the fight tape on him, he's always using the footwork. If you guys saw that ran back the tape on that Anthony Smith-Gustafsson fight, Gustafsson was looking good in that fight. He was, up until the point he made one stupid mistake. He tripped up over his feet and, ended up giving up his back and got choked out. So, if he didn't make that mistake, I mean, I don't want to downplay that now too, because now you're stepping in there with one of the best submission artists in the division from all time. So, I mean, you make that mistake with Verdum, forget about it. Verdum would be like a leech. You'd take your back in 2 seconds and you're done. But it almost seemed like Gustafsson got tired in that fight. That's what I think. It looked like Gustafsson got tired in that fight. He tripped over his own feet and was so tired he couldn't break out of that having his back taken. He couldn't bridge. He couldn't shake him off. He almost had him off for a second, and then he got tripped down, fell again. So, interesting fight. I think that's a good way to describe it, man. A circus fight. Now, we got to talk about the Shogun Hua fight versus Nogueira. This fight, it's going to be a brawl. It's going to be a brawl. What fight do these guys participate in that's not a brawl? What do you guys think about the line here, being that Shogun is almost a 2-1 favorite, right around minus 200, up, minus 185 and minus 200? Shogun's been winning a lot of fights as of recently, believe it or not, but you guys know that Shogun's chin is there for the taking too, and do not sleep on Nogueira's boxing. Do not sleep on Nogueira's boxing. I'm telling you guys right now. I know Nogueira's old as hell, but Nogueira, he has that tricky style. I believe he's a southpaw as well, and he could connect. He could connect. So that's a fight I'm really pumped for, man. That's like an old pride type of fight. The last of those guys. Those guys are dying out. Those guys are really dying out. There's not a lot of those guys left. How many guys do we have left from that era? Can you guys even string off any names from the Pride era that's still doing it right now, like Shogun and Nogueira? Really not. There's not a lot of guys. They pretty much all retired. Vanderlei, Krokop, Fedor. I guess Fedor is technically still in the game, right? Fedor is in the game, but over in Bellator, I believe. I don't think he's technically retired. What's up, Michelle? You want to hop in for a second? I'll post a link. If not, it's all good. If anybody wants to hop in. Actually, no, excuse me. Hannah Goldy's here, so we're going to bring Hannah in. 1 second. What's up, Hannah?
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Just chilling. Just got Odin to bed a little while ago, so the day is officially calm.
That's great. You having a good night? I see on your Instagram, it looks like you have some good nights once in a while. I see you pouring up a drink. enjoying yourself.
Yeah, I try to when I try to when I can, like in fight camp I don't really drink at all. So like when I'm injured, it's like my excuse. I'm like, I deserve this.
Yeah. Speaking of fight camp, I know that you were participating in a fight camp. It looked like that fight got scratched, right?
Yeah, I was supposed to fight the end of August. I just came back from a right shoulder injury, and I was finally starting to feel 100, and then just had a stupid wrestling accident and ended up injuring my left shoulder. So now I have a little bit of time to recover from that. But I like to think that I have like super healing powers. So hopefully that will not take too long, and I'll be looking maybe towards the end of the year.
Okay, that's good. So by the end of the year, do you think that you'll be rescheduled with that same opponent, the Muay Thai fighter, or you think it'll be somebody else?
I was scheduled to fight Mallory Martin in August.
Oh.
So I'm assuming that they'll probably find her another opponent. I mean, I would still love the matchup later on. But I mean, you never know, especially now, like the matchups are just like who's healthy and who can fight and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens.
Were you scheduled to fight Luma like Bome at one point in time?
I was supposed to fight her before COVID, and that's right before I separated this AC joint. So I got injured right before that fight, and finally was feeling good and able to take another fight, and then got injured again. So
it's
the
tough.
struggle.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
so for everyone listening right now, Hannah Goldy, if you're not familiar, I know a lot of people are familiar with you, but you made a name for yourself on Dana White's Contender Series, where you looked amazing in that fight. That's where I first became familiar with you.
Yeah. That was one of my funnest fights. I love, like, even now, like, I was just out in Vegas for Jillian's fight, and like I love that the fights are there. I love that venue. Like I loved fighting there. Everything about it was so fun. So I was looking forward to doing that again in August.
Yeah. And then speaking of Jillian Robertson, so I seen that it looks like you guys are cool. That was your first professional fight, right? Against Jillian Robertson?
Yeah, she had been an amateur for a lot longer than me. I always looked up to her when I was coming up as an amateur. And then I remember, I think I was in Vegas at the time for somebody's fight, and Dean Toole, the promoter from Island Fights, called, and he was like, "Will you fight Jillian Robertson for your debut?" And I was like, "I don't know, she's really good." And then I was like, "Should I?" And obviously my team was like, "Yeah, you should definitely take the fight." And it was a super fun fight. I'm really glad that we did that, because I have so much respect for her as a martial artist, and like fighting her was awesome. Getting that experience and being able to train with her now and Dean, it's cool.
Yeah, that's a solid training partner. She's been looking really good as of recently, right? Her grappling is like top notch.
Yeah, she's a savage. She's an aggressive cuddler. When she gets on top of you, she's like a heavy ass blanket.
Yeah. And so if I'm correct, right? You're up in Orlando? Are you in Orlando, the Orlando area?
Yeah, Orlando.
And she's down over here, right by me. She's in Coconut Creek by American Top Team, or?
She was, and now she's just kind of like in Port St. Lucie. Dean moved back that way, so he's kind of just training a couple people over there right now. So that's where she's working out of.
Got you. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of curious. So do you have a martial arts background that you started with, or did you just hop into an MMA gym? Like, how'd that all work? How did you start your career off? Like first time you walked into a gym or whatnot?
I literally started training when I was like 22. I went to like an underground Muay Thai fight one night, and there was girls as like the co-main event. I was living in New York City at the time, and I was like, that's badass. Like I would love to do that. And then like I swear, like fate is a thing, and like I ended up meeting a guy that owned a gym a couple weeks later, and they just kind of like let me start training there for free, just like cardio kickboxing. But I was like, this is super fun. And then I ended up moving down to Florida, and again was just blessed with like people taking me under their wing. And like I was young and broke and waitressing, and like I couldn't afford to train like that at any gym, so everybody just kind of like helped me out and grew me into the fighter that I am today. So I was always blessed along the way. People always like help me out. That's why I like to kind of pay it forward now. I always love watching like the amateurs coming up and everybody that comes into the gym. So it's a cool experience. You meet a lot of cool people doing this sport. So
Yeah. And, you know, I'm curious if maybe I bumped into you before. Were you at the UFC event in Orlando where Mike Perry took on Max Griffin? Were you at that event?
yeah, I was.
Okay, yeah, because I think I bumped into you there, possibly. Like I was running around the arena, but I remember meeting like a big group of people that all had Mike Perry like remember those little things you
The
put your
faces.
fate? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure his mom and I don't even know who else made those, but yeah, I remember we were all
yeah.
together.
I
Yeah.
vaguely remember that, and I was like, you know what? I bet you Hannah Goldy was over there, but
Yeah.
small world, you know.
Absolutely.
And so hopefully we get a fight by the end of the year. And
Yes.
okay. Yeah, no, I know a lot of people are excited to see you get back in there. You know, in my opinion, I think that you have a lot of potential to have some, you know, some star power. You know, you're more of a striker, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely always like to stand and bang, like smart now. Like I used to just be like, whatever, fuck it, I don't care. I'm just gonna like let this girl hit me as hard as she can and just like go for it. Now, like I try to combine that with like a little bit more like fight IQ.
Yeah.
I do love to strike, but you know, I don't think I've really showed how good I am at wrestling and on the ground. So I really do want to display that, you know, my next fight. So I would expect to see that too.
Okay. Yeah, and you have the right training partner, like we talked about earlier. So I'm sure you're growing in all types of ways, you know, with your overall skill set for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, like at this level, you can't just be good at one thing, you know, like everybody's decent at everything. You can definitely be great at one thing, but you have to be good at everything. So
Yeah. And you know, just to give the people that are listening like an idea of who Hannah Goldy is. Like I'm curious, like growing up, I seen that you grew up in Vermont. Is that correct? In Vermont?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Growing up in Vermont, you know, typically you don't meet a lot of girls that fight, right? It's a little bit more rare, I guess, than a guy that fights or whatnot. Were you always a fighter, like growing up, like middle school, high school? Did you have that fight in you, or was that something that just came out as you got older? Like, I'm curious,
No,
you know?
honestly, like I've never been in a fight outside the gym. Like I don't like confrontation like that. Like I'm not inside the gym. I'm a completely different person. Like, but no, outside the gym, absolutely not. Like I was never like a fighter, like or instigator or whatever. Like I would stand up for my friends or whatever, but like no, not like that. And even still, like I said, like when I go into the gym, it's like a switch. Like I'm a different person. So it's like even like at Fusion, we have a lot of like normal people that train there too. You know, like it's like a normal like kickboxing gym, like cardio kickboxing, and there's fitness classes and stuff like that. And like the girls that like just do like the cardio kickboxing stuff will always be like getting intimidated until they like meet me when I'm not on the mat, and then they're like, "Oh, you're actually like nice."
Yeah.
So it's funny, just like two different worlds. Like I just feel like I have a switch like that I switch on when I'm training. I'm a different person, and you know I zone into that, and then you know like everybody has things that they do, but that's not who they are. So I think you know it's a separate thing. But
Yeah. I've always found that interesting too. Like even from when I was training, you know, I'd have certain training partners that were like, you know, they looked at it more just like, you know, as a way just to keep in shape or whatnot, and to just, you know, let some steam off. And then you got the other types of guys, you know, some of my buddies that are growing up as a kid that are just like hot heads. You know what I mean? There's some people that just, you know, they're looking to fight everybody, and they just got that, you know. But I like to pick like a female's mind too, because it's a little bit different with females too. I mean, maybe I would think, you know, I don't know. I find it interesting, you know, to see like females that step into the octagon or that train and fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like whether you're a fighter or not, like we all have something to fight for, you know, like there's always something to fight for no matter what. I do think that people just have different mindsets about it, you know, like Mike Perry is one of those people, like he likes to fight, he likes the violence, he likes like he gets into that mindset. And some people perform better that way, and then some people prefer to, you know, like stay calm, and you know, it's everybody's different. But yeah, I was definitely not like a fighter.
Yeah. And speaking of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was gonna say, like, speaking of like everyone has something to fight about, I believe I know the answer to this because I follow you on Instagram and I really enjoy your stories, you know, because you got a star that's always on your stories. But
I know.
what do you fight for? And I believe I know the answer, but
Obviously Odin, everybody knows that Odin is like my biggest motivation to continue fighting. Obviously, like I fought before I had him, but I always say like it just after I had him, it just gave it more meaning, like now like I'm fighting to put food on the table for Odin, like to keep a roof over his head and like so that he can have everything that I didn't. And just to show him too that like his mom is a strong, independent woman. Like I want him to grow up knowing that. And, that's super important to me, just to be a good role model for him. And it's cool that I can do what I love and provide for him at the same time.
how would you feel about him following in your footsteps? How do you feel about him maybe potentially being a fighter? I'm curious.
I absolutely don't want him to fight. Like I want him to train and I don't want him to fight and I don't want him to play football. Like, I don't want him to do anything that's going to hurt him, obviously. Like, he's my baby, but I do want him to train. And if he wants to fight, then I'll totally support him. But I want him to, like, rap and golf and, like, never get punched in the face and just make all the money.
You sound like my mom. You sound like my mom. I played football in high school. She used to hate me playing football. When I started training MMA, she thought I was crazy. She thought I had, like, something wrong with me. She's like, what the hell? Who does that stuff?
I mean, that, like, I would understand it, but I would still just be like, oh, gosh, like, it's different. But like I said, I know he's going to be a savage. Like, I know he's going to be a beast. He's already like literally half my size. Like he's 3.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So
he'll probably be a heavyweight, huh? A light heavyweight or a heavyweight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like his dad's huge. All my brothers are over 6 feet. Like all the guys in my family are big. Like, so it's just like, I know he's going to be a savage. Whatever he does, he's going to be great at. Like, it's funny though, because like, he's the most uncoordinated kid ever. Like, he's so like chunky still that I think that like throws off his like center of balance. So like, he'll be trying to do like all this like stuff that the other kids are doing. And I'm like, Odin, you're just like not there yet, bro. Like, you're going to eat, you're going to eat crap. Like, but he goes for it. Like, he's awesome. If you've seen my stories, like, he's a character. Like he has such a personality. Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, damn, like I have such a cool kid. Like every day I'm like, he's so cool. He's awesome. I love him. Yeah.
No, it's funny because I'm on Instagram often and there's like a few people for whatever reason I gravitate towards their stories. Like one guy I'll shout out. I don't know if anyone's listening that knows Ed Bassmaster. He's like a comedian, but he has excellent stories that whenever I see a story, I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch this. I know it's going to be good. And I kind of feel like that with your stories too. I feel like you always got something fun going on. You got water balloon fights going on and stuff. And I always see Odin running around and it's kind of interesting. You get to like see people that you don't even know, but it's funny. You see like, different people from around the world doing different things.
Social media is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I don't even remember like what we did before it, like not being able to stay connected to people that way. Like, I think it can be a good and a bad thing. Obviously, like people, it can become addicting and whatever. But at the same time, like it's really cool to be able to see all of that stuff, like and stay connected in that way. Like, I don't know, it's awesome because like you said, you feel like you can kind of be part of, people's lives without even being like, it's cool.
Yeah, definitely cool for sure. And I seen on your story too that there's a lucky guy in your life. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been seeing each other for a while, but I try to keep my personal life private. I've learned, in the past that it's kind of once something's like out there, it's out there, and I don't really enjoy everybody knowing my business all the time. But like I said, we've been together for a minute, so I was ready to bring that out. But
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I was curious. I don't want to pry too much, but I was just curious. Is he a fighter? I was just curious if he was a fighter. That's one thing that would intrigue me to know.
He did fight. He like had a couple amateur fights, but he basically just trains jiu-jitsu now. He really likes just like flowing in the gi. But cool. Like he'll still like hold pads for me, or like if like I'm going to boxing, like he'll come just hit the bag with me and stuff like that, and like we'll grapple. So I work a lot with his cousin. Actually, Jason Carapolucci is his cousin. So my head coach in my contender fight and my UFC debut, So that's how I kind of got connected with Vinny. But yeah,
Cool.
so he trains. He's good, and he's super athletic and super strong, like a gorilla.
Yeah, he looks like it.
Yeah, like we'll be grappling and his legs will like touch mine, and I'm like, okay, we're done. Like you're you hurt.
You know, because I'm curious, just in a general sense, right? Being a female fighter that fights in the UFC, you know, what is the mindset? And of course, I'm sure it's different for every different female, but like, what's the mindset on the fact that, like, you know, you could beat somebody up, right? There's probably a lot of guys that you could probably rough up, right? Wouldn't that be kind of hard if you were dating a guy? I don't know per se. I mean, I don't want to answer it for you, but like, could you ever see yourself dating a guy that was just a normal guy that didn't fight or anything, that you felt like you could probably beat him up? Is that kind of weird to you? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, like that's like a hard question to answer, because like the guy would have to be small. I feel like, you know, like, I mean, I don't know. Like I don't even know how to answer this question. It's got all baffled. No, they wouldn't have to be a fighter. Like, I don't care about that. Honestly, like sometimes I prefer, like, when I'm not in the gym, like not talking or having anything to do like with fighting, because like that's all I think about so much of the time that like sometimes it's nice to just like come home and like decompress from that and like not have to talk about fighting and not have to think about fighting. But I think personally, like I would definitely have to be with an athlete, just because I feel like athletes just have like a different mindset, and like it would be hard to understand my life if like they didn't have some kind of understanding of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a great point, actually.
But not necessarily a fighter. Like I couldn't give two shits. Like, and that's one of the reasons that I love Vinny so much, is because like he doesn't care that I fight, you know, like that's like, he always says, like, he'll be like, I don't care if you bag groceries at Publix. He's like, I love you for you, you know, and like,
yeah,
that's, you know, what everybody should have. Like I said, what we do and who we are two different things. Like I love fighting and it's my passion, and like, you know, it's a huge part of my life. At the end of it, it's not everything. It's not who I am. Like, and that's what I came to realize after I had Odin too, like that there's a bigger purpose, you know, like fighting is just my platform, and I love that it's my platform, but I'm able to do other things through it.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. And I find that interesting though, too, because there's a lot of, that you brought up a great point, because there's a lot of female fighters I see that I notice that they date fighters and whatnot. Like maybe that's something that just pop off my mind. Ronda Rousey, you know, she dates, or she's married to Travis Brown or Paige Van Zandt, but maybe it's not maybe about just fighting, but it's about somebody that can kind of relate to you, right? Be on the same level about, you know, putting your mind towards something and really, you know, grinding at something. So I definitely respect that. I respect that a lot. Let's see. Well, you know, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm definitely interested, you know, to see who you get matched up against next. Really excited to see that.
I am too.
Yeah, of course, we got to get you healed up first.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for, you know, the doctor that I'm seeing, I totally trust him. Like his son did I broke my hand like 3 or 4 times, and he's done all my surgeries on my hand. So his dad's taking care of my shoulder. So I'm in good hands, and I'm just going to listen to them and do what they tell me to do in terms of, you know, rehab and PT and stuff like that. And as soon as they give me the green light, I'm going to get back in there.
Great. Let me ask you one more question before I let you go. I don't want to keep you too long. One thing I'm curious about, what are your thoughts on, as far as, you know, of course, at the end of the day, you got to win fights, right? In order to be big in the UFC, you got to win fights or whatnot. But I'm curious, as far, do you see like the potential route that you can go, as well as far as maybe, you know, talking on the microphone? You see with a lot of UFC fighters like Conor McGregor or whatnot, you know, the extra money that you could bring in to your pocket, you know, from using your mouth, you know, talking crap and whatnot, and for hyping up your fights. Or, you know, even I feel like you do see it with some certain female fighters too, that just have a star power. Maybe we see it with Paige Van Zandt a little bit too. You know, Paige Van Zandt, who's an excellent fighter too, by the way, for sure. But you see her, you know, really gaining a lot of popularity just from the way that she carries herself. You know, she's just a very entertaining person. Do you ever look into those types of things? Are you the type of person that's just like nose to the grind, just, you know, continue to sharpen your tools as far as fighting goes, and then whatever happens, happens? Or do you see those options that you have? You know what I mean? As far as the star power and all that.
I mean, in my life, like my biggest priority is making sure that like my family's provided for, so like whether that's fighting for the UFC, like before I love that I fight for the UFC, by the way, like that was always my goal. But if it happened to be another promotion, like it's always just been about like fighting and being able to take care of my family for me.
Mhm.
And obviously like we can't do this forever. Like fighting is like not a huge window, you know what I mean? As far as like the number of years that like we can put our body through this, like it's not, we're not going to be fighting for I'm not going to be fighting for 30 more years. Like I'm going to be fighting for 10 more years, so I'm always looking for other ways, to make money and, get my name out there and build my brand and stuff like that. That, obviously the more fights that I win in the UFC, the more it comes along with that. But at the end of the day, I think that's also like being a good role model and a positive influence and, just being somebody that people want to know about, they want to hear about, like, and I don't know, like just setting an example and being a good person. Like that's just what I try to do, like I just kind of started, like my following just kind of started picking up a lot lately. Like honestly, like during COVID, I was like trying to post a bunch of workouts and just like keep people positive and, just like share a little bit of like my life with everybody else. And if people like that, then that's awesome. And they want to be a part of it and follow me, then that's super cool. And I'm happy to share my story with everybody else.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you can let everybody know where they can catch you at, right? You're mostly on Instagram, right? Rather than Twitter, or you can give them both out, wherever you're at.
I just use Instagram. It's just Hannah Goldy, so I'm pretty
Okay,
easy to find.
yeah, so you guys go follow her over on Instagram, and yeah, you guys can go follow her stories. She has some really good stories. They're exciting, and we're all looking forward to seeing you get back in there soon. So that's the best way that you'll get updated, I'm sure, right? We'll see you on Instagram. We'll see your next fight announcement or whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Great. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming on, Hannah.
Anytime. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. Bye. All right, guys. We had Hannah Goldy on the show, man. That was good. You guys got to keep an eye out on her, man. So she's looking to get back in there by the end of the year. So we're about what? Just past the halfway point. So interested to see who they'll lock her up in there with in the cage. All right. Sorry, guys. I wasn't checking all the comments. Hopefully you guys like that interview. Hannah Goldy, man. I thought she's a really cool chick. She came off exactly like I thought she would, man. A really cool chick. That's kind of what I gathered from her. Just the way she carries herself on her Instagram, what I've seen from her. So I appreciate you, Junior. Tell her the GOAT. Love this energy. I appreciate you. Love his energy, man. Tell her, don't lie. What am I lying about over here? John the God. Let's check out what's John the God saying. Oh God. I figured it was something like that. Neil the security. What's up, Neil? That was a good one, man. The cool thing about doing these interviews. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. I wanted to shout some people out, man. Thank you so much, Michelle, man. Michelle, I highly appreciate you, man, for the donation. That's awesome. Highly appreciate you. Really, really special of you to do that. I appreciate you, Rolling 954. Pay your respects, man. I appreciate you, brother. Very, very much appreciated. I'm sorry about that death, man. I would have loved to ask that question, man. I'm sorry, man. I slipped up on that one. And I promise you I won't do that again to you. I was trying to get some questions that I wanted to ask her that I had written down here, and I was trying to stay on topic. I'm sorry, man. But overall, I thought that was a really good interview. And thank you, Michelle, man. That's what's up, Michelle. So, yeah, man, this weekend, we got 2 events going down. We got, like I said, man, we got the Bellator card and the UFC card Friday and Saturday. I do believe that the Bellator card is going to be delayed. It's going to be pre-recorded. So by the time we see it, realistically, you could easily already know who won the fight. If you're smart, just try to avoid social media or, try not to find out from your friends and stuff. And you could watch it and pretend it's live. But I do believe, I could be wrong on that, but I do believe it's going to be pre-recorded. So, something to know, be careful, because sometimes you get those spoilers. You guys know what I'm talking about. And yeah, man, if you guys have any more questions, been rolling up on about an hour. I'm typically going to keep these shows to right about an hour moving forward, an hour and a half. I know for a while I was busting out these shows for about 3 hours, 2.5 hours, and I'll do that once in a while too, But nowadays we're doing a lot of live videos. We're doing the fight companions, pretty much every week. Might even be doing a fight companion for the Bellator card. Still contemplating if I'm going to do that. So I don't want to put too much. You guys don't want to see my face too much. I don't want to spoil you guys with this mug too much. So I don't want to be on here too long. But if you guys have any questions, any comments regarding the fights that we got going on this weekend or anything fight related, you guys can go ahead and ask again now. And otherwise, we'll get ready to shut the show down. I got a couple more interesting fighters coming up over the next couple of weeks. I mean, long term, it's going to be every week. So you're going to have interesting fighters every week. But there's a few in particular that I'm ironing out right now that hopefully I'll have on in the next couple of weeks. I don't want to say any names yet because I haven't solidified if they're going to be coming on. Stay tuned, though. John the God says, Paige isn't entertaining at all. If she wasn't good looking, she wouldn't be as big. Yeah, that's debatable. I'll tell you why. If you really run the tape back and you focus on what Paige Van Zandt's brought since she's been fighting in the UFC, she's brought a lot of entertaining fights. I will say that. Win, lose, or draw, a lot of Paige Van Zandt's fights have been entertaining. They really have. She goes in there to fight. I truly believe that she has a lot more heart than the typical female that steps inside the octagon. You saw it again, the other week. That was a fight. Yeah, she got armbarred, but let's not get it twisted. Amanda Ribas is top notch. She's a potential champion fighter relatively soon. And but you know what? Paige Van Zandt just bombarded her. She ran up in there, and she's a little tornado. She's tough. She's had some entertaining fights too, man. We've seen her pull off some, that jumping head kick that she's pulled off. But no, I do agree. You do bring up a valuable point. Like, if she wasn't as good looking as she was, her name definitely wouldn't be as big as it is. And, she was on Dancing with the Stars, and you got to wonder if she would have ever had that opportunity if she wasn't a good looking chick. I agree. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that you're not, that there's not some truth to what you're saying, but I do think that Paige Van Zandt's an entertaining fighter. I do. When she's fighting, I don't think it's like, in my mind, at least, it's not like, oh, she's a good looking chick, I want to just go see her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, you know what? Paige Van Zandt's about to throw down. Like, she's probably going to get bloodied up. We've seen her get bloodied up before, right? She's going to get beat up, or she's going to go out there. She's going to whoop up some girl. She has some spots. I know it hasn't really been recent. She hasn't really been winning a lot of fights as of recently, but I'm going to pull her resume up real quick, Paige Van Zandt. Yeah, she hasn't won a fight, I think, in a little bit. Who did she beat recently? She definitely knows how to market herself. Okay, so yeah, she beat Rachel. So she won 1 out of her last 4 fights, and the fight that she won was the armbar victory over Rachel Ostovich. And you guys know the deal with Rachel. So, just to go back on your point, John the God, as you're talking about somebody wouldn't be as big as they would be if they weren't good looking. Maybe you want to talk about Rachel Ostovich as well. Maybe even more so Rachel Ostovich, because Rachel Ostovich, have you seen Rachel Ostovich's record? She's 4-5. She has a losing record. Okay. She's lost more fights than she's won. So take that into consideration real quick. You don't see a lot of UFC fighters that have losing records in the octagon, fighting in the octagon. And if you look at the girls, yeah, that's pretty bad, man. If you look at the girls that Rachel Ostovich has beat, she won that one fight on the Ultimate Fighter where she pulled that armbar over that girl, Karine. And other than that, a split decision victory over some girl, Ariel Beck. She took out Ava Johnson in a split decision, and Misha Nasiri. You guys wouldn't have heard of any of these fighters realistically. And then she lost to a lot of big names. Montana De La Rosa, Paige Van Zandt, and Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee took her out in the third with the armbar with a couple seconds left. But, that's a girl more so. Just to touch upon Paige Van Zandt again real quick. Paige Van Zandt, she has stepped up at times. She's 8-5, but she's taken out girls like Beck Rawlings, Alex Chambers, Felice Herrig, Caitlin Curran. Those were girls back in the day that were decent fighters. But then you saw her, when she got locked in the octagon with Rose Namajunas, you saw the difference, right? Rose Namajunas was on a completely different level. Michelle Waterson took her out too. But those girls are real martial artists. Not that Paige is not. I shouldn't say that like that. But those girls are like legit. Those are top-notch, top fighters in the world. Doesn't matter how they look or not. Even Michelle Waterson, don't sleep on her. I mean, we even saw Paige Van Zandt lose to Jessica Rose Clark. That was a fight that I had money on. I took Jessica Rose Clark. I got her at underdog odds right around plus 140, plus 130. And I sniped that. And I knew that Jessica Rose Clark was a decent fighter. And I knew that Paige Van Zandt, her name, carried weight kind of to the point that you brought up. So, Michelle, I appreciate you again, man. I appreciate you a lot. Yeah, man, I try to do my thing over here. I'm going to keep the shows pumping out. There's a couple of guests, like I said, that will be coming out. If you guys have any recommendations on who you want to see coming up in these upcoming weeks, let me know. If there's a fighter that you guys are interested in seeing come on the show, let me know. I'll reach out to them. I'll do my best to get them on the show. They could be a big time fighter. They could be a smaller time fighter. It doesn't matter. I'll do my best to get them on here. Maybe we'll try to get some interesting characters on the show that will make a good show. So I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the interview. And, the thing about these interviews that we're doing here, MMA Live Discussion, the whole point of them is now when we see these fighters step back into the octagon after we interviewed them, as a community here, I feel like we get to know them a little bit better, right? So now, when we see Hannah Goldy go step in the octagon, at the end of the year, don't you guys feel like, you have a little bit something, a little bit of a connection to her now? You got to see what kind of person she is. And that's how I feel. And I feel like I'm blessed enough that I get to interview them and talk to them. And I'll work on you guys. I will work on my skills of, reading your guys' messages and whatnot and asking the questions you guys want. I'm sorry I missed one good one, and I'm going to try to get on that, So, but I appreciate you guys, man. What are you guys thinking for the weekend, man? What do you guys think about the weekend? Any fights you guys are interested in? What do you guys have, man? Fight of the night, Saturday night. Is there a fight that you guys see as being the clear-cut winner for fight of the night? Let me know. Oh, TKO or TAP is saying it's not pre-recorded. Are you positive about that? Bellator is not going to be pre-recorded, because there was a lot of reports from major sources that it was going to be pre-recorded, and I did. That's why I kind of second guessed myself, because I saw that somebody said that they're not going to be doing that, but there was a major news source that was saying it was going to be pre-recorded. But if that's the case, man, I'm happy to hear that. And if you could, man, just elaborate where you saw that. It's in the States. I know it's in the States. It's in Connecticut. The fight's taken. I've been on that. The fight is taking place in Connecticut. But there was sources coming out that for whatever reason, Bellator was doing something. Bandejas, Michelle's Bandejas. I like Bandejas a lot, man. All right, guys. What happened to Aldana? I gotta check up on that. Not really sure if something happened to her recently, but she's a tough chick, I'll tell you that much. Oh, Aldana has COVID, and she had a fight lined up too, right? It's a shame. I figured it was going to happen sooner or later. Some of these fighters, well, we've already seen it happen a couple times, but I think it's going to happen continuously throughout the next couple of months. You see it in the other sports too. Some of these other sports that are taking place, you see a lot of the players starting to test positive for COVID. Not a lot, but here and there, it's going to happen. So overall, though, things are running smoothly. The events are still popping out, and the other sports are still going on too. So that's a great thing for us. So yeah, Aldana did test positive. Okay. She's going to Bellator. We'll see about that. All right, guys. 9:05. We're running over the hour mark. I'm going to go catch the end of this Yankee game. Yankee versus the Nationals. I wonder what the score is on that. Last I looked, it was 3-1, but before I started the show up. And I want to thank all you guys for tuning in. Appreciate all the support from everybody that came in here and watched. People that donated. Much respect to all you guys. And Saturday night for the main card, pending possibly, we're going to do a fight companion for Bellator. Stay tuned. We'll see. We might do a fight companion for Bellator. Let's find out if that fight's going to be live. The reports are now that it's live. So hopefully, hopefully that is the case. I appreciate you. Turn it up, man. Appreciate you, man. Always see you paying respects, man. Much respect to you, man. Appreciate you, brother. All right, guys. You guys know what time it is, right? There's nothing else more to do than to do one thing. And what is it? Let me get a comment. What time is it? What can we do at this time right now? There's only one thing to do. Oh, no. It got rained out? I might have to hang around then with you guys. Damn. Let me check the score on that game real quick. 4-1. Oh, it's delayed, huh? Delayed into the 5th inning. All right. The boy Bill says he likes Rob, Marina, and Hua, and Paney. Yeah, the Paney fight, I know a lot of people are high on Paney, man, but I feel she should win that fight. I don't know. I think that Betche keeps these fights close, and I think anything can happen in there, man. Betche stuffs the takedowns. She has that pitter-patter style, and I can see her winning decision too. So that's a tricky one. Be careful with that. Paney's not a bad fighter, though. I feel like it's going to play out closely. The value might be on Betche, but stay tuned. We'll see. All right, guys. I got one play locked in right now. Working, cleaning up another play for the Saturday's card, possibly a play for the Bellator card. Working on something a little spicy, mixing something up, be an exotic type of play. So stay tuned, guys. And at this point in time, there's only one thing to do. Signing out, the teller.